Hi, I'm Z. Come wine with me. Today, I'm going to do a brief discussion about the couples of Married at First Sight, season 14. I will not do a review of each episode because I don't have the bandwidth. Okay, I don't. The episodes are too long. I speed through them, skip through them myself sometimes. But what I'm going to do instead is kind of give you and myself, just to give me a chance to kind of discuss where I am and what my general um, commentary or thoughts are on the couples thus far. So far, we've gone through the couples being married, and we're at the couples um, kind of having getting geared up for their honeymoon. Um, So we're at like episode 4, where basically, they're gotten to know one another. They've had their like wedding day, after the wedding day type, you know, cool down and time to like get to, talk and kind of have a basic discussion with one another about who they are, and get a sense of where their compatibility might lie, and also to kind of prepare for the coming honeymoon. And the couples will be going to Puerto Rico for their honeymoon. It's going to be a joint honeymoon where all of the couples, of course, go together. And I really like I really like how they have the couples all together, like living in the same place, and all going on the same vacation together or honeymoon together, because I think that gives the couple an opportunity to form bond with one another, to kind of gauge where they are in their own gauge where they are in their own journey. I think one downside is sometimes engaging where they are. They might think, oh well, I should be where they are, and I think that's a downside. Like, I think it's helpful to have a sense of how the other couples are doing and how they're faring, and maybe what they're doing to progress their relationship, because that may be something you could learn from, another couple could learn from, or take from that couple, and bring it into their own relationship to help. Or even, say you see a couple arguing a lot and you see how they're treating one another, and you can say, oh, that's probably a bad idea. I'm going to avoid doing that in my own relationship. So I think it could be helpful there, but I think it could be a detriment too, in terms of, say you're not as far along as another couple, and you might feel that pressure, and like you're not ever going to get there, or that you're behind, when really, there is no behind. People progress differently in different situations when they have like different personalities, and just the outcome should be, I mean, the inputs, or the journey should look different for everyone. There is no should, it's not supposed to be cookie cutter. So anyhow, having said all that, we're not deep into their relationships yet. We're still in the beginning, but I want to kind of go through the couples, talk about my general sense of how these couples seem to be relating so far in this journey, in this process, and also give a prediction of whether or not I think they'll make it in the end. I know it's early, but I have thoughts, and I'll probably throughout, before they actually do their what call it, their reveal at the very end of the season. I'm, my thoughts might change on that, and I might have different predictions. Who knows? But I'm gonna give a prediction in the beginning, about how they might fare on their final decision day. So I'm gonna start with the couple Noi and Steve, and I'm starting with them because I think that they just seem the most even keel so far. uh, I think that I like Noi. She seems like really fun, and that uh, she just seems open to the process. Um, and I think she like really wants a family. Of course, everyone who kind of comes in this process is kind of purporting something along those lines, right? They really want a marriage, commitment. to be paired with someone who is serious, and they're all coming into this because they're purporting to be serious themselves. But I'm just saying that, she does strike me as, really kind of mean, what she says, because there are some people who in some of these, previous iterations of the show, they come in saying one thing, but their actions kind of seem to be the opposite of what their claims are. So I think, Noi is serious and, whatever. So Steve is a little interesting to me because baby ain't got no job, right? And he doesn't necessarily seem too interested in, he doesn't seem concerned about his ability to make money, which is cute. And I can definitely appreciate that, right? My concern with that in his instance, though, is that he is going into a marriage and he's chosen to go into a marriage and in this process. And when asked about, when the family asks about it or whatever, like he kind of still maintains that kind of laissez-faire thing. But it's like, if you want to have a marriage, and especially if you're talking about the potential for kids, homie, I'm going to need to hear more than, oh, I'm not going to start. Like, do you have savings? Where's your savings? Do you have a stash? Like, have you already made a bunch of guap and that's why you're chilling because you have a stash somewhere where you can already provide a foundation? Like, I feel like I'm not getting enough from Steve in that particular, arena, the arena of finances, in order for me to be comfortable that he is where his head is where it should be at in terms of giving a foundation for, or being able to provide and contribute toward a foundation for a family. Because when, asked about jobs and stuff like that, he's like, oh, I can freelance, I can, and that's fine if you've already got a nest egg, right? Or if you've already, I don't know. That is a point of concern, right? Like, question mark on how is Steve financially? Because that is a big deal, and that is one of the things that, trips up a lot of relationships, especially in the Western world, but I think everywhere, really, because everywhere else outside of the Western world already understands that finances are key in a marriage. The Western world is, a little more pie in the sky in that regard. They think it's supposed to be about love first and then, find out the hard way. So with Noi and Steve, that is, the little tick I have on that, the little question mark there is, with Steve. But other than that, they seem to be compatible. They seem both to really be excited about, forming or putting in the work for a relationship or marriage. And so with that, I will say my prediction for them. this is my prediction for them. I don't have enough information for Steve yet, and he's not. At least with the clips we've seen thus far, he's not made me comfortable that he will be serious in terms of finances. And what I mean by serious is some people have, some people can live in a shoebox and be happy, right? Proverbially. Obviously, I'm being hyperbolic. But, others might have a different vision for what their everyday life will look like. And the question is, will these two be able to be on the same page in terms of what a regular life is going to look like, especially where kids are added to that? So if you've got a person who's like, we'll be fine, there'll always be food on the table, blah, 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 but their idea of everyday life is, we don't have to be middle class, or we don't have to be, living in the best neighborhood, so long as everything's provided for and, we got food on the table, everything's fine, right? Whereas someone else might be like, no, I want my child to go to the best schools. I want to live in a home where my kids don't have to share a room, or, are they going to be able to get on the same page about things like that? I don't have enough information with that yet, but that is something that concerns me, and that's why I'm actually going to say no, because even though they seem to be able to get along personality-wise and stuff like that, finances are a big issue, and as we saw with previous previous season with Mirla and Gil, they were able to seem to be able to get on the same page in every other way except for finances. It's a big deal. So that's why I'm going to say my prediction, at least early on, is no for Noi and Steve remaining together at the end of this. So next I'm going to move to Jasmina and Michael. Oh, Jasmina is so cute. She's so beautiful. I love that girl. Michael seems nice. He seems cool. I'm gonna say maybe for these two, but for those who are more black and white, I'm gonna say again. I feel like I don't have enough information yet for these two, but my initial kind of first impression is that they seem to get along fine enough. Yeah. So for Jasmina and Michael, Jasmina and Michael seem to get along well enough so far. Michael, of course, seems very satisfied and pleased with his bride. She's beautiful. She seems to be, very, doing well in life. She traditional-ish minded. I say ish because she seems like, she's definitely willing to put in a lot of work for a relationship. She's mentioned that in the past, she hadn't had the best relationship. She felt like she was doing most of the work and not getting any reciprocity. And so I think she's still willing to do the same and might have a little more comfort and what's the word I'm really looking for? She might feel more hardened because she's in this process. And so it feels like, well, this person, if they've also agreed to be in this process, then they're serious too. So maybe that might, help her be more comfortable. Comfortable is not the word I'm looking for, but just, I guess, more optimistic. But I have to say, so far, she seems to still be, kind of guarded in this process. She seems guarded, and I think she should be. I think, take things slow. Yes, you've agreed to a marriage at first sight, but that you're still dealing with a stranger, and you don't have to rush in feet first with every single thing. So she still seems kind of guarded. I think that I'm giving them a maybe too, but for the black and white folks out there, to fall on one side of the line, I'm gonna actually say yes. I think that they have a good chance of making it because I think Michael will be willing to put in the work to keep her happy and keep lines of communication open. And I think even though I think she'll move slow enough because I think sometimes some people jump in and they jump in too soon with too much. I think she is going to keep things steady and allow for the relationship to progress in a more just sensical manner. Because, like I said, yes, these couples have agreed to this process, but I think part of why some of them crash and burn so bad is because they just think that everything has to be accelerated, and I disagree with that, and I think that someone like Mirla from the previous season, she moved fairly slow, and I think that was a good thing. I mean, I think if Gil had his he was on the same page financially, they would have done well because they got time to really see who the other person was and stuff like that. And so I think Jasmina is going to keep that pace and keep a similar pace where there's not rushing. Anyway, I don't know if I've been clear with that, but basically I'm going to say yes because I think that the work that they'll put in, they'll be able to lay us a firm foundation as opposed to just kind of jumping in and there being like utter chaos. So we're going to go to Lindsay and Mark. Ooh, child. Lindsay is a handful. Is she drunk? Is she an alcoholic? I'm not trying to be funny, or maybe she's on pills or something. I don't know. She's given me a substance abuse tea. I, I could be wrong. I could completely be wrong, and that's fine. But homegirl, she's too merged. She's too merged. Um, she's a lot. Um, Mark seems, he seems cool, but he seems to have like a little. And maybe just as how I'm reading him, but he seems kind of patronizing. He seems like that could be a thing with him, but I don't think that it will. I don't know if Lindsay will. I don't know. I, so okay, I'll just say they seem, when they met each other at the altar and everything, they seem to hit it off really well, and that's great. Um, and he Mark really cares about his family, and so I think that he has a high threshold probably for shenanigans. Not to say his family's putting him through shenanigans. What I am saying is, if he views someone as family and he's now married this woman, I think he is going to be willing to accept in the name of family. I think that he will. I think he'll try to make things work. Um, this could be a situation similar to Elizabeth and whatever her husband's name was from a couple of previous seasons, where stuff just seems, one of them just seems like, well, both of them are actually crazy with that one. But I think on this one, Lindsay's more out there, and Mark seems, he might have his issues, but he seems to be a little more whatever normal is, right? We'll say normal, whatever that is. Um, and he's a caretaker, and so I think that's why I feel like, you know, he will be more willing to deal with her ups and downs, um, and her full throttles, you know. Um, so I'm actually going to give them a yes. I think come decision day, they would be willing to at least give it a little more time beyond the filming process. All right, so now we're going to go to Katina and Elijah Wan. So these two are both, they both seem pretty uh, open and extroverted. So that's a positive. Now we're going to go to Katina and Elijah Wan. So these two are both, they both seem pretty uh, open and extroverted. So that's a positive. There's initial physical attraction from both of them. Um, so I guess that's a positive. Um, Elijah Wan talks too much. I think he mentioned he has ADHD, which that doesn't necessarily account for him talking too much, but can account for some hyperactivity. Um, his he at one point, like, he seemed to mention like, oh, he really wants a wife who can cook and stuff like that. And Katina indicated that she's not that great with that, but I think that because he has initial attraction to her, like, he's he kind of like, okay, well, we'll learn together, we'll figure it out together. So that's kind of cute. Where this thing he said he really wants and really is important to him, he was kind of, at least initially, seeming to bend on that, because she she's coming in saying that's not really my strength, but something I'm willing to kind of work on, and he indicated he is as well. Um, but Elijah Wan talks too much. Back to that. He and I think when they met in the wedding day, maybe you can chalk some of it up to nerves. But what was a cause of concern for me is when I saw that he like met the family or family of friends, whatever, and spoke to Katina's friends, and he kind of seemed to have an attitude. And it's like, well, oh boy, this is your time to talk. They ask you questions. This is your time to talk. And all of a sudden, he kind of wants to shut down and not answer questions. It's like, wait, all that talking you've been doing, now you want to shut it down? No, no, no. No, this is time to talk. So with that attitude, having that attitude, like, coming to the family and just kind of coming with an air of arrogance and like, it's gonna be whatever. Like, no, no, that's not cute. That's not cute. You're grown. Conduct yourself as an adult. And I think that, him having an issue with Katina's male friend off the rip. I mean, you should understand another, you know, male's desire to ensure that you have good intentions. And you should understand that and be willing to honor that and kind of speak to that. And you shutting down kind of concerns me and tells me, oh, it's probably because you ain't shit. Or excuse my language. I'm gonna beat that. Probably because you know that your track record doesn't speak to that. Your track record doesn't speak to you being likely to be a good partner, and you don't want to have to answer for it. And so, rather than actually, address the tough issues, you just shut down and act like it's a machismo thing. Mm-mm. I that's a turn off to me. I don't know. Katina doesn't seem to be too happy with it, but she still seems to, okay, I'm gonna, take this in stride. This is just the beginning. Let's see how things go. But that's a cause of concern for me. And I feel like he even went into meeting the family with an air of arrogance. It's like, it's one thing if you go in and you're like, oh, I'm a little nervous. I don't know what I'm gonna expect, but I'm gonna be open and do my best to, answer their questions and get along, whatever. But he didn't go in to like the meeting with her people with that mindset, and that to me says a lot about him, and what it says isn't good. um yeah, I think that Elijah Wan's arrogance will be a downfall, and arrogance and yeah, yeah, I mean, I think he has some work to do on himself, and yeah, I don't see it working out for these two. Um, Katina's indicated that she likes to go out and stuff like that. And for a person with his background, who, used to be, I guess, a little playboy, whatever, he, and who has not necessarily, I don't think, dealt with that in himself. He might, make the word, he say the words, like he might say, yeah, that's my background, I'm ready to settle down. He might say those words, speak those words, but what about your actions, right? Like, what are you actually willing to pour into a relationship? Do you think that is like more a situation where it's like, okay, well, I've been out here, playing myself, but now I'm really be married, so let's have somebody else do the work. And now, like, I've got a woman stuck with me, because let me tell you, what I mean by that is sometimes guys go through women not just because they're playboys, but because women are leaving left and right. Right. So he's an attractive man, so he can definitely attract them. But it's part of the reason that he was going through so many is because he was not able to keep them. That's what I'm trying to get at. I think that has probably been an issue with him, if I had to guess. Just kind of based on my what we've seen initially in the season so far. So that is why I'm saying this is probably going to be an issue. And for a woman who likes, it's indicated she's outgoing, she, has lost friends, she's extroverted, whatever. Because he has that going on with him, he might try to dim her shine. But we'll see how things work out. But I'm gonna say no, because I don't think he is in a space to really. I think he has work to do on himself before he can be a good partner. So yeah, my prediction for those two is no. Ooh, and finally we've got Alyssa and Chris. Where do they find these people? Because Alyssa is a hot mess. That girl. Okay, so on the one hand, she did make it clear that she wanted a man with nice teeth. So when you give somebody when you hand someone a person who hits on a deal breaker, that is kind of unfair, right? It is kind of unfair. So I will give her. I can't stop. You know, when you're looking at yourself, and I'll probably get used to this as I just get more comfortable with filming. But from here, my hair shape is just not perfect. Like, I'm sorry. I'll stop touching my hair. Okay. So my issue with Alyssa is that I feel like she's not being fair, right? So Chris is clearly, she's not attracted to him. Let's just say that, right? She's not attracted to him. But she comes to this man and she's like, well, you've said some things that I don't like it. When really I think she's just being a bitch toward him because she's not attracted to him and she's disappointed with this match. And I just would have more respect for her if she was honest about that and not treating this man like crap. So yeah, I mean, and also, she's giving, I want this free trip, but I've checked out in terms of actually making an effort with this relationship. That's what she's giving, and I don't like that. Like I don't know what documentation they sign. Maybe she just doesn't want to have to pay a fine for not going through the process. I don't know. I don't know how things work on the back end. I just know that based on what she's saying, and based on what Chris seems to be indicating, she told him is that she's pretty much like checked out. And I just think that's so unfair. I don't want to paint her as a villain because, like I said, if she put out a deal breaker and they gave her that deal breaker, that's kind of messed up on, production's part or on, the show's part. But at the same time, it's like, at least give it a try. You've already handed over your own decision-making power by agreeing to be a part of this process. So at least try to see why they matched you, right? Because by virtue of doing this show, you're saying that you're taking power out of your own hands because what you've been doing before has not been working for you. So I would just like to see her give it a try, because I just, yeah. And look, I try to be a girl's girl and not go in on other people's looks and stuff, but homegirl, like, you have balloons for lips. Like, you're not that great looking yourself. Humble yourself, okay? I'm not going to say you're ugly because I don't think you're ugly, but I think that you have an overinflated sense of how good looking you are. And that's my opinion. So I actually think that, Chris and her are a good visual match, if you know what I'm saying. I think they physically are a good match. I also think that, I'm not saying that he has to be open to this, but, you can change teeth. There are procedures that one can get, and you don't know how open or closed he is to that yet, right? So, like, just give it, I'm not saying he has to make any changes. I'm just saying, like, some people might be open to that. People make changes all the time for their partner, some or refuse to make changes, on the other hand, right? Like, some people might be like, oh, my partner likes my hair like this. So, and they don't want me to have my hair like that. So, or my partner likes my beard, or likes it when I wear a mustache, or likes my hair completely shaved, clean face, right? So there are, different things that people might be willing to do for their partners, and we don't know yet if that's something that he would be open to, fixing his grill. He might be open to fixing his grill. So, just give the man some time. So far with Chris, he seems, nice enough, decent. He seems very driven, and motivated and like, a hard worker. And that's a good thing, right? That's something that she wants. I guess the only downside is making sure that he makes time for a relationship. He's agreed to this process and whatnot, so hopefully he understands that he's going to be required, or not required, but like make sure that like he understands that he needs to put forth just as much effort into a relationship as he does to his business or his clubs or whatever he does, right? He just, I guess that's the thing that, I think about when I think of Chris is like, okay, he's busy and that's great, but does he understand that like relationships take time and effort? And so is he willing to make that you just carve out some time and effort for a relationship? Because he could be coming into this saying, with the thought in the back of his mind, he might, you can tell the experts, yes, of course, I'm willing to do that. That's why I'm here, blah, blah. But really, it's like, well, I haven't had the time, so just give me a wife so that I don't have to make the time for all that. Just hand me a wife, and then I can keep doing what I was doing, but at least I had somebody at home now, like, that's what we don't want happening. So, with Chris, that's kind of my only concern is that, will he, outside of this process, make the time and effort to, have the date nights and to, make a partner a priority. So yeah, that's what my concern is there. And also with Alyssa, she made a comment about like liking animals more than people, something to that effect. I think she's gonna have the same issue as well. Probably with just about anyone, unless I guess she finds them extra attractive. Is that she has a soft heart for animals, but how about people? Like I'm straightforward as well, so I don't knock her for being straightforward and stuff. But even her friends seem to make it seem like she's difficult, kind of for difficult's sake, like friends and family, kind of push that like, hey, give her time and this that, and it's like you can give someone time and space and stuff like that, but it's just like, is she really into animals because she is not great with people? It's easier with animals because animals don't talk back. Animals are pretty forgiving and will accept you as is and doesn't necessarily require you to make changes and improvements. And are you, is that your comfort zone, feeling like you don't have to make any changes and improvements, you're perfect as is? Well, obviously you don't feel that way because you've got balloons for lips, so there's that. But injections and all stuff you doing with your own face aside, I'm talking about your personality. Are you willing to make those adjustments in order to make a relationship work? And so far we're seeing the answer is no, but again, try to give it time. Hopefully she becomes more willing to make adjustments. So you know what? I'm going to throw a Hail Mary and I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say at the end of this, because they've started out rough, I'm going to say that they have a chance of actually making it. Yes, that is a Hail Mary, but that's what I'm going to go with. I think come decision day, because they've started out so rough, I think that, sometimes the couples that start off the roughest wind up having, smoother sailing toward the end, as opposed to sometimes when the couples who dive in feet first, they think they got the initial thing going on and I don't think they have to put in the work elsewhere, and they fall apart basically toward the end. So I'm going to say, because they're having a rough start, they're going to make adjustments to make more of an effort to get on the same plane. And I think toward the end, they might have a chance of actually making it outside of the filming process. So that is a Hail Mary, yes, I know, because it seems off the rip like it's an HE double hockey sticks no. But yeah, I'm willing to give it time, and I'm willing to place a bet on them, because I think that, given that both of their friends and family, or kind of seem to say similar things about each one, like Chris's people are like, oh, try not to take him as being patronizing. He just wants to teach, they're trying to like soften some stuff about him. And, Alyssa's people were saying, just give her some time, she'll come around. you know, um, they have something in common, and if they see that they're both kind of maybe difficult in some ways, maybe they'll try to make adjustments, and maybe the experts can get them to see that about themselves, reflected in the other, and and maybe they'll make some adjustments in order to make things work. So, that's my Hail Mary. So those are my initial thoughts on the couples from Married at First Sight season 14, up to I've watched up to episode 4 so far. So thanks for whining with me, and until next time.